A young girl asks Oprah about forgiveness. The air was thick with anticipation as the crowd buzzed with excitement. Today, on the stage of Oprah's iconic talk show, something extraordinary was about to unfold. The lights dimmed and a hush fell over the room. Oprah sat, her calm presence radiating warmth, ready to share a conversation that would change lives. But what the audience didn't expect was the voice of a young girl who stood up, her hand trembling as she held the microphone. Her name was Emily. No older than 12, but the weight on her shoulders seemed far beyond her years as she spoke. Her words cut through the air like a sharp knife, yet there was vulnerability in her voice, a raw emotion that no one in the studio had anticipated. "Oprah," Emily began, "how do you forgive someone when they've hurt you so deeply, when they've taken something from you that you'll never get back?" The audience fell silent, unsure of what to expect next. But Oprah, with her decades of wisdom and grace, gave a slight smile, as if she had been waiting for this moment. And then, in the stillness of the room, Oprah's response echoed in a way no one could have predicted. Emily had always been a sweet, quiet girl with an old soul. Her laughter, bright and full of life, could light up a room. But behind her wide, brown eyes, there was a heaviness that no child should carry. Emily had always been close to her older brother Aaron, a teenager who shared her love for books and dreams of one day traveling the world. They were a perfect pair, always together, sharing secrets and plans for the future. But then something happened that shattered their world. One rainy evening, Aaron didn't come home. Emily waited for hours, her heart growing heavier with every passing minute. Her parents searched frantically, but the night turned into days and then weeks. The police were involved, but as the weeks dragged on, hope began to fade. No one could find Aaron, and no one could explain what had happened. The mystery of his disappearance hung over the family like a dark cloud. Months later, Emily's world was flipped upside down when the police discovered Aaron's whereabouts. He had been found in a remote area, far from home. But the truth of what had happened was far worse than anyone could have imagined. Aaron had been involved in a tragic accident that claimed the life of another family. Emily's brother was no longer the boy she knew. The guilt and pain that overwhelmed him were too much to bear. The impact of Aaron's actions sent shockwaves through the family. Emily's heart broke not only for her brother, but for the family who had lost their loved one. They all lived in the shadow of this tragedy, unsure of how to move forward. Emily found herself at a crossroads, torn between loving her brother and grappling with the pain he had caused. Her family, too, was fractured. There was no blueprint for navigating the depths of their sorrow and guilt, but one thing remained clear. Emily needed answers, she needed peace, and she needed to know how to forgive. The months that followed were filled with a constant storm of emotions. Emily's parents, consumed by their own grief, became distant, absorbed in their own world of sorrow. Her father struggled with anger and resentment, while her mother, once so loving and present, withdrew into silence. Emily often found herself alone, navigating the broken pieces of her family's heartache. She would often visit Aaron at the rehab center, where he was recovering from his injuries and attempting to cope with the crushing guilt of his actions. He was a shell of the person he once was, withdrawn and full of regret. But Emily saw glimpses of the brother she had once adored, the compassionate, caring Aaron who had always protected her. Still, the rift between them was impossible to ignore. The worst part for Emily was the silence. They never spoke about what had happened, not truly. Every conversation felt like a tightrope walk, as if they were both afraid to address the elephant in the room. The guilt, the sorrow, the unspoken questions, they weighed heavily on both of them. Emily had spent so many nights lying awake, wondering how she could possibly forgive her brother for what he had done. How could she reconcile the person she loved with the person who had caused so much pain? Her mother suggested they go on a trip to the city to try to heal. It was then that Emily's father surprised them by getting tickets to an Oprah taping. He said they needed something positive, a way to find hope amidst the wreckage. Emily had heard of Oprah before, but she never imagined she would be sitting in her audience. let alone asking her a question that would change her life. As Oprah sat there, listening to the young girl's heartfelt question, the room grew heavy with emotion. Emily's voice cracked as she asked, "How do you forgive someone who has taken something from you, something so precious that you'll never get it back?" Oprah took a deep breath, her expression soft but serious. She paused for a moment, as if choosing her words carefully. "Forgiveness is one of the hardest things you can do in life," Oprah began, her voice steady and calm. "And it's not just about the other person. It's about freeing yourself. You see, forgiveness isn't just for them, it's for you. It's for your peace of mind, your heart." The room was quiet, and Emily, along with the audience, leaned in, hanging on every word Oprah spoke. Forgiving someone doesn't mean you're condoning what they did. It doesn't mean that what happened doesn't matter. But when you hold on to that pain, it eats away at you. It holds you hostage, keeps you from moving forward. But forgiveness, true forgiveness, means letting go of the control that pain has. "Over you?" Emily's eyes widened, the words slowly sinking in. Oprah's eyes were kind but unflinching. "Forgiveness," Oprah continued, "is about accepting the imperfections in others and in yourself. It's about finding a way to heal your heart so that you can move forward without carrying the burden of anger and sorrow. It doesn't happen overnight, and it's not easy. But when you forgive, you give yourself the gift of freedom." Emily felt the weight of Oprah's words wash over her like a wave. It was as if a light had been turned on in her heart. All this time, she had been holding on to her own pain, unable to release it. She had been too focused on the hurt to see the possibility of healing. Oprah's wisdom didn't just offer a path forward. It illuminated a way out of the darkness. Oprah then leaned in, her voice lowering with sincerity. "You're not doing this for the other person, Emily. You're doing this for yourself. You deserve peace." The moment felt timeless. It wasn't just a lesson for Emily, it was a revelation for everyone in the room. It was the kind of wisdom that could transform a life. As Emily returned to her seat, she felt a shift within her. The question she had carried for so long, the weight of her anger and hurt, began to dissolve, replaced with something unexpected: clarity. Oprah's words had unlocked something deep within her. She had always believed forgiveness was about letting the other person off the hook, about them being free of their consequences. But now she understood. Forgiveness was for her peace, her healing, her future. The next day, Emily sat down with Aaron at the rehab center. She looked at her brother, her heart heavy but full of hope. She had never spoken to him about forgiveness, but now she knew she had to. She couldn't carry the weight of their past any longer. "Aaron," Emily began, her voice trembling with emotion, "I don't know how to say this, but I forgive you. I know you didn't mean for any of this to happen, and I'm so sorry for all the pain you're carrying. But I can't keep holding on to this hurt." Aaron looked at her, tears welling up in his eyes. "I'm so sorry, Em. I never meant to hurt you, or anyone." For the first time in so long, Emily felt the walls between them begin to crumble. She held her brother's hand, and in that moment they both felt something shift, something that had been broken for so long finally began to heal. In the months that followed, Emily and Aaron rebuilt their bond. It wasn't easy, healing never is, but the act of forgiveness, both given and received, became the foundation for their recovery. Emily no longer carried the weight of resentment in her heart. She had learned that forgiveness was not about excusing what had happened, but about releasing the power it had over her. As for Emily's family, they too began to heal, each in their own way. Her parents started to open up to each other again, sharing their grief and their hopes for the future. The darkness that had hung over them began to lift, and in its place, there was light. Emily's journey taught her more than just how to forgive. It taught her the true power of healing, of letting go, and of moving forward with hope. If this story touched your heart, then it's time to make forgiveness a part of your life too. Whether it's forgiving someone else or forgiving yourself, it's never too late to heal. Emily's journey proves that no matter how deep the pain, peace is always within reach. If you want to hear more life-changing stories that inspire, subscribe to our channel. Share this video with someone who might need to hear it, And remember, forgiveness is the key to freedom. It's time to let go, to heal, and to move forward together.